Hey everyone, it's Brian from Archaius again, and welcome to another audio tutorial for Lensprotogo. Just as good editing can be described as the art of being unseen, mixing audio for post can be described as the art of being unnoticed, in that everything you hear must directly support what's happening on screen. I apply this philosophy in a very intuitive and organic way when balancing levels for a project. There are no hard and fast rules, but I do use a few general guidelines. All vocal source audio should be balanced and clear at all times. All sound effects and ambience should feel realistic within the scene, and music should take prominence when voices are not speaking, but not overpower any natural audio or other elements being used. Let's take a gander at this minute or so chunk of a finished mix. To help orient you, I've got all the video tracks hidden at the moment so we can just focus on the audio. We've got 2 tracks of source audio on top, one of which isn't being used for this particular segment, 2 tracks for sound effects and natural audio, a mute track for extra natural audio not used in the final product, and 2 music tracks below that. For starters, I'm just going to let this section play. Watch, listen, and take note of how the levels of each element in the mix are adjusted throughout.
That'll keep you sane. And this world is crying more and more every day.
Mary was our 3rd child, which means that the house was never quiet after she was born. Our 3 kids are all fans of WWE, and I'm pretty sure they were rehearsing for that when they were kids.
David?
Nice.
I made these. Just let you know.
Did you really? I like the choice, like brushed.
Family's very important to me, and I've got to know Tyler.
Now let's get into more detail. For these first 15 seconds or so before the source audio comes in, you'll notice that the lyrical version of the music is playing at a healthy level, but not so loud that it overpowers the background elements on audio track 4.
That'll keep you sane. And this world is crying more and more every day.
You'll also notice that I'm using a pretty lengthy crossfade when transitioning from the outside natural audio to the women in the dressing room ambience. This is to help support the establishing shot of the future Mrs. Biedenkap sign, and to give the oral impression that we are entering into the bride prep area. Let's hear that in isolation by soloing audio track 4.
Over there, that's far, yeah.
Now, as we approach the entrance of the source audio, you'll notice that we switch to the instrumental version of the track on audio track 7. When possible, it's best to use instrumentals during moments when other voices are speaking, so as not to confuse the viewer with too many voices going at once, as this can be distracting even when the music is at a low level. On that note, let's take a listen to this next chunk and hear how the music level is adjusted during this Father of the Bride speech.
Mary was our 3rd child, which means that the house was never quiet after she was born. Our 3 kids are all fans of WWE, and I'm pretty sure they were rehearsing for that when they were kids.
You'll see that the music level comes down while the father of the bride is speaking, comes back up in this little space here, and then comes back down until he finishes speaking. This approach is pretty universal, but there are a few tips to ensure this happens smoothly every time. First of all, you'll notice that the keyframing at either end has 3 breakpoints instead of 2, giving it a slightly more parabolic shape. This results in a much smoother sound and gain adjustment than a linear one, making the overall transition from music to source audio less noticeable. Now, I know that Premiere also allows the option to add Bezier curves to automation, but I'm just used to this approach and find it gets the job done just as well. Secondly, you'll notice that in the space between source audio clips, the music comes up to a level somewhat less than full volume. This keeps the viewer's attention focused on the speaker, while keeping the negative space sounding full sonically. There's also a hairspray sound effect added here, and the women in the dressing room ambience comes back to help build the space. Let's check out this chunk again with fresh ears.
Mary was our third child, which means that the house was never quiet after she was born. Our three kids are all fans of WWE, and I'm pretty sure they were rehearsing for that when they were kids.
A couple of other bonus details you might have noticed. When the dressing room ambience comes back in, we start with a laugh, almost as if they're laughing at the father of the bride's joke. Also, you'll notice that the overall level of the sound effect drops slightly over the course of the clip, helping to set us up for the scene change to follow. Now let's listen to this last little bit.
David?
Nice.
I made these, just to let you know.
Did you really?
I like the choice of the, like brushed.
Family's very important to me, and I've got to know Tyler hanging out, family events, get-togethers.
You'll notice that in addition to having the instrumental track continue rather than switching back to the lyrical, since this natural audio involves speaking, I've raised the level of the natural audio so that the fountain and dialogue are heard clearly, but not so much that it's at the same level of the source audio. This helps the viewer stay focused on the action in addition to the dialogue that's happening. And of course the music level drops back down when the father of the bride starts speaking again. Let's hear it again.
David?
Nice.
I made these, just to let you know.
Did you really?
I like the choice of the, like brushed.
Family's very important to me, and I've got to know Tyler hanging out, family events, get-togethers.
Now, one more note on music levels. Depending on the style of track, your volume adjustments may need to be more substantial to ensure that the source audio is still heard clearly. The adjustments that I've made with this track are more subtle, around -4 dB or so, since it's a more laid-back track. But with higher energy tracks, you might need to turn the track down by -10, -12, maybe even -20 dB sometimes. In all cases, just make sure it's whatever the track needs to be adjusted by so that the source audio is heard clearly, and make sure your fades happen gradually so that the transitions don't feel jumpy. Thanks for joining me on this mix level balancing journey. If you have any questions or suggestions about other audio topics you would like to see covered, please leave them in the comments below. See you in the next one.